Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Tina Jha with News Tonight, where we get you the day's biggest news stories from across India and the world. And the top story we are tracking tonight: India has rejected Nepal's move of clearing a constitution amendment bill in its lower house, revising the coat of arms of Nepal to reflect its new map in its national emblem. Reacting to the development, spokesperson of the Ministry of External Affairs, Anurag Srivastava, said, and I quote, "We have noted that the House of Representatives of Nepal has passed a constitution amendment bill for changing the map of Nepal to include parts of Indian territory. We've already made our position clear on this matter. This artificial enlargement of claims is not based on historical fact or evidence and is not tenable. It is also violative of our current understanding to hold talks on outstanding boundary issues." Unquote. Coronavirus cases in the country crossed 3 lakh on Saturday after recording the highest single-day rise of over 11,000 cases. India now has the 4th highest number of coronavirus cases among 10 nations worst hit by the virus. However, data shows that India has taken the longest to reach the figure among the top 4 worst affected countries. As compared to other nations with a high number of cases, the death count in India is low but rising. And as the cases continue to rise, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will interact with chief ministers of states next week to discuss the COVID situation. India has recorded the highest single-day jump in COVID-19 cases so far, with 11,458 new cases. The total number of cases jumped to 3,08,993, which includes active and cured cases. While the active case count stands at 1,45,000, those recovered account for 1,54,000 with a recovery rate of nearly 50%. The death count rose to 8,884 with a single-day spike of 386 fatalities. Approximately 77% of the new cases are still being reported from Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu and Delhi. Maharashtra, the worst coronavirus hit state in the country, crossed the 1 lakh mark after it reported 3,493 cases on Friday. Mumbai, that has the maximum number of cases in the state, reported 1,366 new cases and 90 deaths. Tamil Nadu's tally crossed 40,000 with 1,982 people testing positive over the last 24 hours. Chennai continues to be the COVID-19 epicenter, with 70% of the cases being reported from the city. While Delhi's tally of coronavirus infections crossed the 36,000 mark, as the number of deaths due to the disease climbed to 1,214. At 3,717 deaths, Maharashtra has the highest toll in the country, followed by Gujarat, Delhi, West Bengal and Madhya Pradesh. These 5 states have recorded 81% of all COVID-related deaths in India so far. Deaths have surged the most in Haryana, Delhi and Tamil Nadu in the last 7 days. The Indian Council of Medical Research has ramped up testing capacity for detecting the novel coronavirus. 885 laboratories, including 642 government and 243 private ones, are currently operational in the country. ICMR has tested over 55 lakh samples so far, including over 1,43,000 samples tested on Friday. India reported the first case of COVID-19 on the 30th of January. It took 98 days, that is over 3 months, for COVID-19 infections to rise from 1 to 50,000. The next 50,000 cases were added in 12 days, taking the number of infections to over 1 lakh on the 19th of May. In a sign of increase in pace at which cases are getting added, the third lot of 50,000 cases came in just 8 days on the 27th of May. Infections rose by another 50,000 in the next 7 days that followed. The country added another 50,000 cases in just 5 days. Cases jumped from 2.5 lakh to 3 lakh in the last 5 days from the 8th of June. The last 1 lakh cases have come in just 10 days. However, according to the Health Ministry, the doubling time of coronavirus cases in India has improved to 17.4 days currently from 15.4 days a couple of weeks ago. As cases rise amid relaxations following the 2-month nationwide lockdown, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will chair an interaction with chief ministers next week to discuss the COVID-19 situation in the country. Video conferences with chief ministers will be held on the 16th and 17th of June. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Amid rising coronavirus cases in the country, the Health Ministry has added loss of smell and taste as the symptoms of COVID-19. These two symptoms now figure in a list of 9 other symptoms in a document published by the Health Ministry. In the past few months, apex health bodies across the world, including the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, have included loss of smell as a COVID symptom. Other symptoms include fever, cough, fatigue, shortness of breath, expectoration, myalgia, rhinorrhea, sore throat, and diarrhea. In the document, Clinical Management Protocol COVID-19, released on Saturday, the Health Ministry said direct person-to-person transmission occurs through close contact, mainly through respiratory droplets that are released when the infected person coughs, sneezes, or talks. These droplets may also land on surfaces where the virus remains viable. Infection can also occur if a person touches an infected surface and then touches his or her eyes, nose, or mouth. People above 60 years of age are particularly vulnerable to coronavirus. Those with underlying non-communicable diseases like diabetes, hypertension, and cardiac disease, among others, are also at high risk. India has also revised the protocol for clinical management of COVID-19 to include use of remdesivir and off-label use of tocilizumab and convalescent plasma therapy on very specific groups of patients. Remdesivir may be considered in patients with moderate disease, those on oxygen. Tocilizumab, which is off-label, may be considered in patients with moderate disease with progressively increasing oxygen requirements and in mechanically ventilated patients, not improving despite use of steroids. While convalescent plasma may be considered in patients with moderate disease who are not improving despite use of steroids. The document further says hydroxychloroquine will continue to be in use. It adds that HCQ has demonstrated in vitro activity against SARS-CoV-2 and was shown to be clinically beneficial in several small single-center studies, though with significant limitations. It advises that the drug be used as early in the disease course as possible to achieve any meaningful effects and should be avoided in patients with severe disease. Antibiotic azithromycin is no longer a part of the treatment protocol. The protocol also lays down the need for treating mild, moderate, and severe cases differently, reiterating that RT-PCR is the only acceptable diagnostic test and emphasizes the importance of oxygen therapy. Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a detailed review meeting on the response to the COVID-19 pandemic with some senior ministers and officials.
Besides reviewing the national level status and preparation, they took stock of the situation in different states and union territories, including Delhi. Home Minister Amit Shah and Health Minister Dr. Harsh Vardhan attended the meeting. That also included the Principal Secretary to Prime Minister, Cabinet Secretary, Health Secretary, DG ICMR and other officials of the empowered groups. During a detailed presentation on the current situation, it was noted that 2/3 of the total cases in the country are from 5 states. Measures to effectively handle the peak surge of daily cases included increasing testing, number of beds and services. The Prime Minister took note of the recommendations of the empowered group on city and district-wise requirements of hospital and isolation beds. He instructed Health Ministry officials to undertake emergency planning in consultation with the states and union territories. Modi also advised the Health Ministry to ensure suitable preparations in view of the monsoon season. Prime Minister Modi also appreciated the instances of outstanding work done by several states, districts and cities in controlling the COVID-19 pandemic successfully.
And Prime Minister Modi will interact with chief ministers of all states on the 16th and 17th of June via video conferencing to discuss the COVID-19 situation.
On 16th June, the Prime Minister will interact with the Chief Ministers of 21 states and union territories, including Punjab, Assam, Kerala, Uttarakhand, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Tripura, Himachal Pradesh, Chandigarh, Goa, Manipur, Nagaland, Ladakh, Puducherry, Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Dadra and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu, Sikkim and Lakshadweep. He will interact with the chief ministers of 15 other states and union territories on June 17th. These states include Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Delhi, Gujarat, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, West Bengal, Karnataka, Bihar, Andhra Pradesh, Haryana, Jammu and Kashmir, Telangana and Odisha. This will be the 6th meeting of the Prime Minister with the Chief Ministers since the announcement of a nationwide lockdown in March.
A day after the Supreme Court expressed concern over fewer coronavirus tests in the national capital, Delhi Health Minister Satyendra Jain on Saturday put the onus on the ICMR, saying its guidelines should be changed for the testing to increase. Taking suo motu cognizance of the sorry state of affairs in Delhi hospitals and the treatment being meted out to COVID patients, the Supreme Court had on Friday directed Chief Secretaries of the National Capital Territory and other states to take remedial action ensuring proper management of patients at hospitals. The Supreme Court also took serious note of fewer COVID tests being conducted in Delhi and asked the government to ensure that there should be a steep increase in testing both by the government hospitals as well as private laboratories. The Delhi High Court has also directed the Aam Aadmi Party government and the centre to increase the number of beds and ventilators for COVID-19 patients. In the wake of the rising coronavirus cases in Delhi, Union Home Minister Amit Shah will hold a meeting with Delhi Lieutenant Governor Anil Baijal, Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal and others on Sunday. And under the third phase of the mega evacuation exercise Vande Bharat, 16 flights brought home Indians stranded in various countries on Saturday.
On day 3 of the mission, an Air India flight from Chicago carrying 300 passengers reached Hyderabad via Delhi at 1 p.m. Another repatriation flight carrying 405 passengers was scheduled to reach Hyderabad from Riyadh at 6:15 p.m. Similarly, a flight from Daman was reaching Bengaluru airport at 5:45 p.m. with 149 passengers. 2 more flights were slated to return with Indians from Bahrain to Thiruvananthapuram and Bengaluru after 7 p.m. Another Air India Express flight from Kuala Lumpur was bringing back Indians to Madurai at 5:30 p.m. An Air India flight was slated to reach from Malaysia to Madurai at around 7 p.m. Besides these, a special flight from Kuwait was scheduled to bring passengers to Mumbai and Delhi. Another flight from Toronto was slated to bring 319 passengers to Delhi.
The officials at the consulate were very, very helpful. They went out of the way to make sure that they reassured me and they kept in touch with me constantly, updating me about the developments. And they personally made sure that I was issued a ticket, and they kept me informed. Once the ticket was issued, I had enough time to make arrangements to travel from Winnipeg to Toronto so that I could catch this flight. It's a fantastic effort made by the Government of India. And I want to thank the Consulate of India in Toronto and Government of India for taking this kind of initiative.
They are coming from Coimbatore and they came to Muscat for a visit visa 4 months before, and they got stranded here. And thanks for the embassy, they have arranged this Vande Bharat mission and they could able to go back now. We got a very good response. Immediately we registered, we got a mail and we were able to buy the tickets easily. And all the safety measures, everything was done excellently by the ministry. We were very thankful for the Indian embassy and the community in Oman.
In a Twitter message, Civil Aviation Minister Hardeep Singh Puri informed that 3,908 Indians returned to India on Friday. 227 Indians stranded in Finland, Denmark, Estonia and Latvia were flown back home on Friday. An Air India flight also brought to Finland 168 people, including 15 infants who were stranded in India. India on Thursday launched the third phase of the Vande Bharat mission. Over 165,000 Indians returned to the country under the first 2 phases of the mega evacuation exercise. 10 additional flights between India and the US under Phase 3 will be operated between 20th of June and 3rd of July. The third phase of the mission will last till 2nd of July. 432 international flights will evacuate Indians from 43 countries. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Beijing has shut 6 major wholesale food markets and delayed plans for the resumption of primary schools after China's capital reported new cases of coronavirus.
3 new cases of COVID-19 have been confirmed in Beijing in the past 2 days. The new cases on Friday involved 2 men working at a meat research center who had recently visited the markets. On Saturday, an official from the Beijing CDC said that 4 of the 6 newly confirmed COVID-19 cases in Beijing earlier this week are related to the Xinfadi wholesale market. The CDC is now carrying out investigations in the wholesale markets and large supermarkets across the city and conducting nucleic acid tests. China has also suspended reopening of primary schools previously scheduled for June 15th. In addition, Beijing has suspended all public sporting events because of the new cases. Meanwhile, Britain's economy shrank by a record 20.4% in April as the country spent its first full month in lockdown. However, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson on Friday said he is not surprised by economic plunge and added that a recovery would follow soon.
Figures came as no surprise to us because we've always recognised that this wasn't going to be just a public health crisis, but also a really serious crisis for our economy. And if you think about it, coronavirus is likely to hit a country like the UK economically very hard. We depend on services, on human contact, many things that the coronavirus makes very, very difficult. But we're also very resilient and a dynamic economy, and we will bounce back.
On Saturday, Poland reopened its borders with all European Union neighbours, including Germany, the Czech Republic and Slovakia. France is due to lift border restrictions on Monday. People coming from European Union member states will be able to enter French territory without restrictions. On the same day, Germany, Belgium, France and Greece are also lifting restrictions for all travel within Europe. Spain will lift travel restrictions on July 1st. Brazil's biggest cities, including Rio de Janeiro and Sao Paulo, have now reopened shopping malls and other businesses, while the drive-in cinema is also seeing a revival in Brazil amid the pandemic. Apart from economic activities, outdoor sports activities also resumed in some nations after nearly 3 months. Soccer resumed in Italy in a surreal atmosphere as Juventus drew against AC Milan to reach the Italian Cup final on the away goals rule. The final will be played on Wednesday in Rome. New Zealand on Saturday became one of the first nations worldwide to welcome fans for the Super Rugby Sports League. Meanwhile, the global death toll from the novel coronavirus has surpassed 4.2 lakh with over 7.7 million infections.
And in some other news, Union Minister Smriti Irani addressed BJP's Jan Samvad rally in Delhi on Saturday via video conferencing from the BJP headquarters. In her address, Smriti Irani said that BJP workers have served food to over 1 crore people in Delhi and also distributed over 10 lakh masks to the poor.
She highlighted the achievements of the Modi government in the last 1 year and praised the central government for rolling out various schemes like the Jan Dhan Yojana, Ujjwala Yojana and the Ayushman Bharat scheme for the benefit of the people. She also reiterated the centre's commitment to eliminating poverty. She further thanked people for following the public curfew and the COVID-19 lockdown. The Union Minister also honoured Corona warriors who are working tirelessly during this pandemic.
राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष नड्डा जी के नेतृत्व में दिल्ली में 1 करोड़ से ज्यादा जरूरतमंदों तक फीड द नीडी कार्यक्रम के माध्यम से भोजन जो उपलब्ध कराया है, ऐसा कार्यकर्ता हमारा इन विषम परिस्थितियों में मां अन्नपूर्णा का स्वरूप बना है। लगभग 10 लाख मास्क मात्र देश की राजधानी में भारतीय जनता पार्टी के कार्यकर्ता ने सेवा बस्तियों में, गरीबों के बीच में बांटा, 38 लाख सैनिटाइजर की बॉटल्स उपलब्ध कराई, विशेष उनको जिनके परिवारों में आर्थिक चुनौतियां थी।
Army Chief General Manoj Mukund Narvane said the situation is under control on the Indo-China border. Listen in. He expressed hope that the ongoing dialogue will resolve differences between the two countries. Speaking on the sidelines of the passing out parade of the Indian Military Academy in Dehradun, the Army Chief said both sides have started to disengage in a phased manner beginning from the north.
The entire situation along our borders with China is under control. We are having a series of talks which started with the Corps Commander level talks on the 6th of this month. This has been followed up by a number of meetings at the local level between commanders of equivalent ranks, and as a result of this a lot of disengagement has taken place, and we are hopeful that through this continued dialogue that we are having, all perceived differences that we have will be set to rest. As I said right at the beginning, everything is under control.
General Narvane also said the security forces in Jammu and Kashmir have had a lot of success in the past 10-15 days, adding that the people in the state are fed up with militancy and want normalcy to return.
You would have seen we have had a lot of successes in the last 1 week or 10 days. In the last 10-15 days alone, more than 15 terrorists have been killed. All of this has been because of very close cooperation and coordination between all the security forces operating in the Union Territory of J&K. Most of the operations have been based on information provided by the locals themselves, which goes to show that they are also absolutely fed up with militancy and terrorism, and they want that the situation should return to normal.
Addressing IMA's passing out parade, General Narvane said that safety, honor and respect of the country depends on the abilities of young officers as military leaders. The parade saw a total of 423 cadets being commissioned into the army. Ahead of the June 17 elections to secure a non-permanent seat at the United Nations Security Council, India has said its presence in the world body will help bring before the world the ethos of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means the world is one family. On the UN Twitter handle, India made the announcement along with a 10-minute video about its journey at the United Nations. The tweet reads, "A vote for India is a vote for transparency, credibility, accountability, effectiveness."
We have strongly supported the purposes and principles of the United Nations in the spirit of multilateralism. Independent India viewed its membership of the United Nations as an important guarantee for maintaining peace and security. I am confident that at a time when we are poised to celebrate the 75th anniversary of the United Nations and later the 75th anniversary of India's independence in 2022, India's presence in the Security Council will help bring to the world our ethos that the world is one family. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
Elections for the 5 non-permanent seats of the UNSC will take place on 17 June, with India as one of the candidates. India would be contesting for the non-permanent member seat with a 2-year tenure beginning January 2021. Others in the fray are Canada, Djibouti, Ireland, Kenya, Mexico and Norway. India would contest unopposed for the Asia-Pacific seat, while Mexico will contest unopposed for the Latin America and Caribbean seat. And Twitter has announced that it shut down more than 170,000 accounts tied to the Chinese government.
The company said the accounts were spreading geopolitical narratives favorable to the Communist Party of China and were removed for violating its platform manipulation policies. It is noteworthy that Twitter is officially blocked in China, though many people in the country are able to access it using a VPN. Twitter said the accounts tweeted predominantly in Chinese languages. Twitter identified 23,750 core accounts that were used to tweet content favorable to China, and a further 150,000 accounts that were used to amplify the content, for example by retweeting content posted by the core accounts. The social media platform said many of the posts were about COVID-19 outbreak and on the political situation in Hong Kong. However, Beijing on Friday denied any involvement and said the company should instead take down accounts smearing China. China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that China was the largest victim of disinformation.
So that's it from us in this bulletin. Thank you for your time. Good night and take care of yourselves.